All right, we should be live now. Good morning, everyone. Hope everybody's doing fine today. This will be our monthly chat with the patrons for January. So, Big Pod, what you been up to?
Nothing much. For a whole weekend, I was on competition in IT field. So
Yeah, I know you wanted to tell us about the competition. So, did you win?
no,
No.
no, I know I didn't win, but I don't know at which place I ended up.
As long
My
as you
team
didn't finish
ended up
last, right?
probably not.
Probably not.
We'll have to wait till Monday to find out.
Well, you just needed to compete against other people. If it had been a competition against the likes of, folks like me, you probably would have done very well.
It is because it's a school competition on national level. It was that me and my team weren't as prepared because we have a lot more responsibilities than on some schools which have a really big wish to win competitions. So they actually let the competitors skip school so they can practice.
Ah.
And because of
Hey,
that,
Big Pod.
those
Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
go on,
Out
say.
of curiosity, what was the competition topic?
We were doing server management, basically server and networking. We were two in team. One was doing networking Cisco stuff, and I was doing the server stuff with Linux, Debian, and Windows Server. Active Directory was the one thing I was doing on Windows Server,
Oh,
and
got it.
and basically we were doing a fake comp. We had to set up a IT department of a fake company, everything IT related for a fake company that was set up for the competition. And I was we were one of the eight different schools competing.
Very cool. Well,
Oh,
I'm sure it was at least
it looks
a learning
kind of.
experience. Huh?
Yeah, it was great learning
Yeah.
experience, and I'm really happy I did it.
Yeah. Might be something you could even put on a resume.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, what have you been up to, Nate?
I've just been hacking around on a bunch of stuff. It's been busy at work, so I don't know. I switched over to OpenSense firewall a while back, and then I've been running it in a virtual machine with a bunch of VLANs and such. And I found out that I can, without it having set up in an active passive setup or having a cluster of them, I can fail it over to my other machine actually within a few minutes, so that I can replace failed hardware. So I found that to be quite fun. But yeah, it just typically I wouldn't run a firewall virtually. It's been kind of a fun experiment playing with this with about a dozen VLANs. A lot of them test VLANs, a few of them separate out like IoT devices from our standard, my servers and things like that. So I don't know, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. What kind of servers you typically run? What operating system you running?
I am all over the place on that. So when it comes to something where I'm doing virtualization, a lot of what we do at work is RHEL based. So I've been doing Fedora there. I'm still not a fan of CentOS and RHEL very much. So if I want stability, I'll use CentOS for some things, but I run Arch on most of my other stuff. I haven't done it for my virtualization platforms.
You find I already see if you're going Arch over CentOS, you really don't like the old and crusty repos that are the CentOS repos. I feel you on that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But yeah, and then I've been hacking about changing up my config for Pi-hole and things like that. I got a whole bunch of Raspberry Pis, and so I'm just always trying to find different things to do with them. So
yeah, very cool. George, what have you been up to? Anything interesting, Linux or computer wise?
Well, I brought a broken iMac to kind of fix as I go. Working on signing some iOS apps and stuff like that. I got tired of renting virtualized instances, so then that way I can save that cost
When you say a broken iMac, were you able
Screen.
to fix it? Or just the screen? Okay.
It's just the screen. It's got one of those Fusion things, so it has like a 32 gig Blade SSD and a 1 terabyte storage, and I'll probably upgrade that. But because of the way that the iMac is built, I'm gonna have to probably do that all at once, so I don't have to seal it with the adhesive strips surrounding the glass and everything.
Yeah, it's all in one, and really
Yeah.
crappily built all in one. So yeah.
Wow.
One time.
Tell us what you really think about the iMac, Big Bud.
All time, I really hate the where everything is behind the screen, and because that it makes the repairs really hard, or really even the strips need to be held in place for months by a paper or something like that to so the strips actually take effect.
People that work on their computers would never buy an all-in-one, but it's more of the consumer market that the Mac is going for, right?
Actually,
people like that sort of.
A lot of professionals bought it because there was no good Apple-based professional device for quite a while, because a lot of people live in that space where, for good or for worse, especially in companies like production companies, there is a lot of Apple devices, and a lot of them bought iMacs because there was no Mac Pro device available except the trash can, which was a can of trash.
Yeah, and this was one of the ones that had the RAM soldered on it, so I made sure that the one that I found had 16 gigs on it, because the only thing I really cared about was the app signing and some other utility. So it's not going to be a main machine or anything like that. It has a very specific purpose, and that was to reduce my cost of having to rent something every month at $50 to $75 a month. So
and that's been one of the hot topics actually in Linux news here in the last month. I've seen a lot more articles about the right to repair, especially especially in regards to companies like Apple and John Deere as far as farm equipment. Those two companies do not want anybody working on their equipment unless they are authorized repairman, which I think is just ridiculous. If you spend thousands of dollars on something, you should be able to crack it open and do whatever you want with it.
Yeah, I think some laptops, I think, were having some of that issue too, even though there wasn't a lot of, like Dells and Lenovo's and things like that. Because I guess Lenovo, I think I was watching a Louis Rossmann video where it talked about, I think the battery is integrated. I'm not sure about that. I think that's what I thought. One of the newer ones had that in there. And, I just recently had a battery issue too with the Dell. So.
Some of the new ones have integrated battery in Lenovo's, but most of the time, at least ThinkPads still have normal batteries, which is one of the reasons a lot of people love ThinkPads.
So, do you mind if I say something about the integrated batteries in the newer ThinkPads?
Go ahead.
Well, I've encountered them before, and it seems like most of the time you just have to pop off the back. If you're comparing that to Apple products, I think I did a PowerBook once for replacing the hard drive, and it was 43 screws. So, I mean, that versus just popping the back off a system or something like that, or remove a keyboard is still better. I have an issue with the soldered on processors, but that's just became an industry standard.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Soldered on processors are actually becoming even more prevalent, and especially in server space because of whatever reason. And I'm actually quite a supporter of CPU that is removable. But anyway, most people won't remove the CPU.
No, it's less of a problem than it, being able to add RAM. Most people are never going to change a CPU on a laptop. If the CPU fails, you buy a new laptop most of the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Much bigger problem, it is non-removable, or at least hardly removable battery, because many people would like to keep their laptop, even if they have to go to a repair shop and let them. It would be a lot cheaper if they just pop the cover off and take the battery out and put another one in. Then they have to unsolder it and crap like that.
My main system is a T500 with a quad core. And I had to do like some motherboard patch wires to get it to work. So maybe a bit different perspective on that.
Right.
It's always fun doing budge wires, I tell you.
Yeah. Well, Alistair, what have you been up to? I hear that you have been playing a lot more with OpenBox these days.
I am, and I'm still on OpenBox right now. I haven't
Great.
touched Trinity as much. The only time I actually really do Trinity is when I'm building the ISO to kick it out the door. And I play with it for a while, and I'm straight back on OpenBox, so I don't know what's happening with me.
OpenBox is addictive. I mean, once you go OpenBox, you
really
never go
is.
back. It
Welcome
really
to
is.
our
really
side.
is.
Welcome to our
really
side.
Yeah, it really is addictive.
I love me some OpenBox. I don't do floating window managers often, but when I do, it's always OpenBox.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but I just released an OpenBox ISO, and I did do a mini goof where the composite wasn't installed. Oops. But that's okay. That'll be fixed in a couple of weeks. I'll release another ISO in 2 weeks anyway for February. So
Yeah, they don't need
It's all good.
compositing.
Yeah.
no, I don't need it. But the links there, like when you do the right click menu, you go to preferences, you got like desktop preferences, no effects, transparency and all that. If you click it, nothing's going to happen apart from a little message coming up saying Comp Manager isn't installed, permission denied. I'm going, oh. It's an easy fix, but you know,
Right.
shouldn't be there in the first place.
That's very cool. You got a link for the chat in case anybody wants to check out your new OpenBox release?
Yeah, actually, you can get both of my Trinity and Ting releases if
Okay.
I'm hoping this will work. Let's see. Yeah, that'll do.
Okay.
Bear with me.
Very cool.
Okay, hopefully that link will work. That's to the mirror, so it isn't downloading off my slow site. It will download off a fast mirror.
All right, very cool.
But it still says carpet reached on here.
What have I done with Linux and computers since the last time we talked? I haven't done too much other than I played around a little bit with my website, playing around with Hugo. That was, I think, the last time we did the monthly chat. I said I was going to take a few days off. I took like 3-4 days off from the YouTube channel and just spent some time with Hugo, which had a little bit of a learning curve, but wasn't too bad. I kind of like the static website generator that is Hugo. It's actually pretty intuitive, and once you get kind of a workflow down, it's actually rather easy. I think people think these things are more complicated than they are. I just start a new Hugo post in Emacs. You know, I get a markdown template that comes up. I just plug in what I want to plug into that markdown template. I push it to GitLab. Then I SSH into my web server. Then I run a script that clones my GitLab and puts all the files, changes all the permissions. It takes all of like 2 minutes for me to, you know, push a new post to the website. It's actually really simple.
Well, it's like other things is that, you know, it's that ramp up time that takes the longest, because it's great when you have a repeating format. And, you know, I think, you know, and that harkens back to, you know, almost anybody that has been working on the web in terms of creating a site, probably in the last 15 years has never experienced, you know, the way that we had to create websites in the mid 90s, you know.
Right.
And I think it's kind of a shock to them because it's so much work up front, but then it becomes a little easier as you go.
Yeah. So I was one of those kids in the mid 90s that started building websites early on once the internet became a thing. And yeah, it was completely different when, you know, all you had was HTML. There was no CSS. You definitely didn't use things like Java and JavaScript and all this other crap. It was plain HTML. You didn't dare put images on a web page because it would take all day for that web page to load if you put even small images on it.
or let alone try to put music on there, like MIDI files,
Oh, no.
sound files. I mean, not
Video
not,
was
like yeah,
video was unheard of on the internet, right? You would never
Yeah.
do video.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Those little mini sound files to give your website just that little punch, you know.
Oh yeah, and you never knew where the music was coming from.
But you know
Which
what?
window is doing that?
The
When you
web
actually
had
to
more
compile
character.
Apache.
Yeah.
Well,
The
at
web
least
had-
back then you didn't have all these tabs open trying to figure out where it came from.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I miss the old web. It definitely had a lot more character. It was a much more interesting place than it is now.
Well, you know, I was kind of curious when I saw your Gopher video, and so I went ahead, you know, like, yeah, that sounds fun, so I did it. You know, it's like going on, you know, Lunduke's BBS or something like that. You know, that nostalgia.
And starting the Gopher server is not that difficult. PyGopherD is the Gopher server. It's in Debian's repos, Ubuntu's repos, if you use either one of their servers. And you just install that, and just setting up a Gopher site can be done in literally 5 minutes. It's dead simple.
Yeah, I loved Gopher and Waste back in the early 90s. Unbelievable. So much fun.
And Mr. Gen2 himself is joining us. I see Ben. How you doing, Ben?
Hey, I'm all right. I'm not fully awake yet at the moment. I've been up for 2 hours and still feel like a friggin' not that I'm awake yet at all.
Yeah, that's all right. I'm not either. That's why I'm on my second cup of coffee.
I haven't had any caffeine yet.
No.
Not yet.
So you were saying you bought a computer, a new computer, or was it a refurbished?
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
I'm waiting to. My dad's waiting to check the finances on that, but I'll give you.
Okay. But you're planning on putting Gen 2 on it as soon as you get it?
Probably, but let me not window you dumb.
What kind of CPU? I'm just curious
Well,
about.
let me do this. This is the computer. It's wrong. I don't know which window you're seeing.
I am seeing Discord.
Yeah, that's exactly what I see as well. Discord.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I share my screen, but
All
it just
right,
makes
here.
it envious.
There you go.
Okay. Yeah, this is the computer here. It's an Alienware 17R4 Core i5, 16 gigs i7, 16 gigs of RAM, terabyte hard drive, and an NVIDIA 1060. But here's the trick.
Mhm.
It's not Optimus. It's two entirely separate graphics. So it's not that dreaded Optimus crap that NVIDIA ships with most of their laptops nowadays.
Yeah.
And the sad part is it comes with Windows 10 on it, but that's going away. I'm putting Linux at some point.
That's an easy fix, that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm wiping it away and putting Gentoo or some form of Linux on it.
You can always ask him just to wipe Windows straight after we show him, man.
Yeah.
I'm not going to worry about that. I can do that myself.
Yeah, if you're going to format it anyway, I mean, it's...
Yeah, it's not worth asking the seller to do that.
Yeah.
And plus, maybe, and my dad's going to apply the PayPal credit if we can afford it, and just, because he has a better credit rate than I do. So, yeah, so that's how we're going to pay for it. So,
Yeah, and the 1060 is a great card. I had one in my last machine, and it works great with the proprietary drivers. But hey, it's NVIDIA. What can you do?
Yeah.
You can't run the open source drivers if you want.
Yeah, I wouldn't use the open source NVIDIA drivers because, unfortunately, as a gamer, they're just not ideal. So.
And with the i7, you could probably compile Gen 2 in a couple of hours. It wouldn't be that 8-hour ordeal that we did with Ricky that time where...
Yeah.
I made the mistake of Ben was streaming with Ricky, Yu-Gi-Oh! Master, one day. They were doing a live Gen 2 install, and I just happened to join their live stream. And they were like, we're almost finished if you want to hang out with us. 6.5 hours later, I was still with them.
Yeah, Rich, you got an echo there.
Yeah, make sure you're wearing earbuds. Yeah. Or otherwise we'll get some bad feedback.
I wrote to N Curse's video editor a while back, and I finally got the code to be usable enough that I could call it an alpha release.
Cool.
Ncurse's video editor.
Yeah.
Exactly
Yeah,
what
it
we all
uses,
needed, right?
That's got Derek's ears pricked up.
Right.
CLI video editing, excellent.
Well, you know,
Well-
I've actually have done some video editing just using FFmpeg, just, you know, simple scripts. If you're not doing anything complicated, it can be done, but it has to be something real simple. Like all you're doing is recording your desktop, and you know, you're not adding like any in-screen graphics or anything like that. No, for that, you actually need a real video editor.
I've been using it as my main video editor for like 6 months.
Wow.
Very cool.
Yeah.
It uses like FFmpeg scripts. It works out all right. I added it pretty much is like a Ncurse's interface that like outputs to like well, it just calls like some FFmpeg scripts, but everything's done with like I make all the frames of the video a keyframe, so I can just use copy codec after it's rendered, so it does the rendering in advanced, and it gets the audio and puts it in a WAV file to get the audio sync correct. So that actually took a while to figure out. But because of that, I can actually like edit videos on like an X200S with like a low voltage Core 2 Duo. And that's kind of nice, you know, not restrained by hardware capabilities.
Yeah, I mean, it's totally doable. If all you're doing is doing some simple cutting and pasting, just splicing some scenes here and there, it's totally doable.
It can do one layer. Or I guess it could do more than that. One layer video.
Well, very cool. You have a link to your Ncurse's video editor, or have you not published it yet?
I do have a link. It's a zip file on my website, like tripcode q7.xyz.
Okay.
And yeah, that's just like if you want to talk about like 90s website appearances. So,
Well,
yeah, my website's pretty much a 90s website's appearance. If you visit it. No, it really is. It's just...
nobody in the,
it's under the download section.
Yeah, I don't think anybody in this crowd will criticize you for having an old school looking website. That's kind of
it is old school, I'd say. That's pretty much just a PHP script. That's all it is.
Yeah,
Preferred.
Yeah, it's preferred these days.
Okay, I reinvented the wheel a lot making that website. It's like I probably should have just used sed, but I have like some C++ program.
Yeah, but why would you use sed for something like that when you can awk? I can't.
Here we go. Here we go. There's another video subject.
The real question is, why do you write a replace function?
Huh?
Why do you write a replace function in your C++ program when you're using scripts already? That was a bit wheel reinventing.
Yeah, but the real question is, why are you using C++ when you could just use C#, right, Big Pod?
How did I that?
Oh God, I know how to program C#, but I've never used it on anything that wasn't ASP.NET, and I'm not a fan of that. So.
Yeah, so some of what I've done since our last chat about a month ago on the YouTube channel, made a number of videos, obviously, but one of the things I did was I synced my content over to library, LBRY. I did that about 17, 18 days ago, and it's been kind of interesting playing around with that. I've gotten, I actually haven't looked, I've got a little over 1,400 followers over on LBRY, and, you know, just a little over 2 weeks. And as far as revenue, the interesting thing about this is I've made like 11 or 12,000 LBC credits. They're cryptocurrency. What does that translate into real world? Well, if I converted it to US dollars, that's about $300. So again, without putting much effort into it and only being there a couple of weeks, there is revenue to be made. Like, I think it could be a viable platform if there were more people actually using it. We need more creators there. Obviously, we need much more viewership there, because I don't think they get 50,000 views a month like on the platform. Like, it's not that big of a platform yet because there's not that many people there. But I'm hopeful. Like, it's so easy to sync your content there. Why not be there?
Yeah, how did you sync your content? Because I created a library account and my content did not sync.
Yours didn't sync?
Nope.
Mine took about 3 days because I have 600 videos.
Yeah,
and not all of them.
Videos
yeah, not all of them made the sync, and I can tell you why some of yours probably didn't, because the ones
Is it the length?
The length. Yep. If you do mostly live streams and you do long live streams, they're not making the sync.
You've seen one of my live streams, have you, Derek?
Yeah.
4 hours, 3 hours.
Yeah. So about 40 of my videos didn't make the trip over to library, and that's because some of those were very lengthy live streams that I guess they just couldn't handle. You know, they didn't.
Yeah, but none of mine went over, not even my short ones. I don't know why.
Oh, that's weird.
Oh.
You could always try to contact some of the guys over at Library for support. I know the owner, the creator of Library, is very active in the community. I'm sure he'd help you.
I will contact him and see what he has to say.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully I'll get some of my stuff over there, because that'd be cool, actually.
Yeah, because he actually is pretty active. I see him doing interviews, you know, with a print journalist, and sometimes on videos with folks, you know, promoting the platform. It is free and open source software, so that's the big reason why I'm there. I did not want to set my content on a proprietary platform. I'm already on YouTube, which is proprietary. Why go to a secondary proprietary platform? That's not what I'm trying to do. I was trying to go to a false alternative, which some people didn't get. Why are you going to Library? Why don't you go to this and that? And it's like, well, that's as proprietary as YouTube. You know, why aren't you on Vimeo and Dailymotion? And
isn't
like,
it?
No, I'm not going to those platforms.
I've just got to look at Liberty now.
Yeah.
Derek,
Mm-hmm.
I did switch to Library, synced it, and I didn't have any issues with it. But they do something kind of weird with the tip situation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so like including I think they rank it by the amount of like LBC you have. So if your video shows up,
they do.
So it seems kind of weird to like withdraw money from it. I didn't really I think last time I checked was probably like a few weeks ago, and I made like $1 or $2. But I don't really have a lot of subscribers on that.
And I'm not really.
It was still more than.
Like, I think, and I haven't played with it that much. It's like I could take, you know, like these 10,000 LBC credits that are sitting in my crypto wallet right now, and I could just put all that on one video and try to get it to rank really high, you know, get it to trending on LBRY, because, you know, you go to the home page and you have the trending stuff. And I think that's how that works. I haven't played with that stuff. I'm not even sure if it's really worth, you know, putting a bunch of cryptocurrency on some of this stuff to rank, because, again, there's not that many viewers anyway. Most of the people that are going to watch your stuff are probably already know you're there. They're following it anyway. So.
Well, could they potentially keep a running total, so that way if you do withdraw it, that, you know, it still keeps your place in line, so to speak?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
That would
but
be
yeah, I mean, you can
question.
always, you know, like I can, you know, put all this cryptocurrency on a video, and then I can withdraw it. Yeah, I mean, you can move it around, and then you can move it off the platform completely. So I could send it to whatever crypto exchange I want to send all my LBC to, so I could convert it to Bitcoin or US dollars or whatever it is I would rather have other than LBC. So it's like the platform is a little strange, you know. Like I said, it's a learning curve to it. But the thing with it too is it's LBRY is not a website, which is something a lot of people don't really get. It's a website. You can go to lbry.tv and watch video, but that's not really what LBRY is. LBRY is a protocol, meaning any of us could write a client for LBRY, you know, to view videos. It's free and open source protocol. So it's different than putting your videos on something like YouTube or Vimeo or something where it's one site. They have control of all your videos. The site ever goes away, or whoever owns the site decides to delete all your stuff, it's gone. It's not the case with LBRY because it's just a protocol.
Does it use like peer-to-peer by a chance?
It does, yeah.
I noticed it was a little bit laggier on my older laptops.
Yes. There are some days where I'll click on a video and it just opens up as you would expect any video. There are some days you'll click on a video and you might wait a minute or two before it starts playing. I've noticed that too.
Yeah, I think the term that I've heard used for it is federated in some way.
Yeah. Anyway, it's just, you know, I think it's an interesting platform. I think it deserves a little more attention. Because eventually YouTube, we got to get off YouTube.
YouTube.
Other than that, the other big news for the month was the end of Windows 7. I know Big Pod was excited about that.
Yay, finally.
Yeah.
Got rid of that old crappy technology that shouldn't exist anymore.
And apparently this is more controversial than really what it should be. Windows 7, end of life. Hey, everybody, go switch to Linux. I think that's what we're all telling people. Hey, have you tried Linux? Check it out. And then you've got people saying, don't tell all these Windows 7 users about Linux. We don't want them. You know, they'd probably be happier on Windows 10 anyway. I was like, wait, what?
Wasn't there some kind of argument about that, you know, with the end of life of XP as well?
I was around with the end of life of XP, you know, in Linux, and I was actually around when Vista came around, and we were trying to get all the people that didn't want to go to Vista over on Linux.
Yeah.
And there was that argument then, but it wasn't as big of an argument then as it seems like now. And now you're seeing a lot of like mainstream print media that are kind of against this idea that you really shouldn't even, Linux exists, but you probably, you know, take a look at Windows 10 first. Like, really? And some of these people are actually claimed to be proponents of free and open source software. And if you are promoting free and open source software, if that's your thing, then I think morally it is your duty to at least present these people the option that Linux exists. You should take a look at it. You don't want to just ignore the option. If they don't switch to Linux, that's their choice. You can't force Linux on somebody. But we absolutely need to tell all these Windows 7 users that Linux exists, and it's much better than Windows 7 ever was.
Well,
Okay, that's true. Linux
So-
is better than 7. That's like one and done.
That's not even a debate, right?
Yeah, it's not debate.
That's strange. I think some of these people that have written these articles and have done these videos saying that we shouldn't be trying to convert these Windows users to Linux, I think some of that is just clickbait. I really can't imagine any of these people really think that. At least I hope they don't.
A lot of it is elitism.
Yeah, it's
Hoping
gotta
to
be.
to stay that elite few who can run this to other people mystical operating system that in reality is just as useful as any other and just as bad as any other. It just is different.
Because I'm sure
ways.
many of us have switched friends and family to Linux. I have put countless friends and family on Linux. They bring me their old virus-riddled Windows 7 laptops, and I throw whatever on it. I've used Ubuntu, Mint, MX, Elementary, Linux Lite, a variety of mostly Ubuntu-based distros on these family members' machines. They take it home. I never hear from them, ever. Like years. They go.
Well, I think that brings up an interesting idea too. Is that I think Matt Hartley had talked about this too, about dealing with friends and family, and some of them pretty much need like a kiosk experience to access the web and stuff like that. And I think that's an interesting idea.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you could ask them, what kind of computer, if they've been running Windows, if they've been running Mac, what kind of interface they like. But for the most part, as long as there's a simple menu system, or even better, a simple dock that has the big Firefox or Chrome logo right there that they can click on, they're good. Because most people they just want to go on the web. As long as they can get to the web, they're good.
I mean, I don't disagree with you, but I kind of like playing devil's advocate in arguments.
Go for it. That's why we're here.
Okay. Well, the reason I imagine that some people might be into that, I guess Big Pod was talking about Linux elitism, but a lot of it I feel is if you actually, a lot of people are happy with Windows 10, and the people that kind of like the kiosk system. I imagine not all the Windows 7 holdouts are like that, but they probably don't want to see more things like, Canonical, add like some Amazon data selling things and stuff like that in the Linux community. But I still think it's a lot better option than Windows 10, and actually brings more attention to Linux. But devil's advocate point there.
Okay. Yeah, I'm less concerned with what Linux distribution people move to. Actually, I'm less concerned whether they even move to Linux at all. It's more presenting them that there are free and open source options out there. I mean, if BSD was an option, which none of the BSDs really are an option for a new user, but I'd be happy for folks to just get them off of Windows and Mac. The proprietary operating systems is. I just want people to know that there are options out there.
Most people don't really care about this proprietary open source.
But they should, Big Pod. That's the point. That's why we have to tell them. You don't have to tell them up front. You present Linux as just an alternative operating system, and then once they're on it and hooked, then you let them know, hey, by the way, did you know this is free and open source software? That's why it's so great. That's why it's so much better than...
Whether they should care or not, that's completely different. Cat reality is that most people don't care because for them a computer is just a tool, and they don't care if their X was made by a design that was put on internet or put out for everybody to see, or if it's proprietary design inside that is made just by that company. Most people don't care because it's a tool. They use it. If it works, it works. If not, sell it or trash it. That's the reality. Most people do with their tools, and computer for them is just a tool.
It could be Linux, or it could be Open Indiana.
Yeah, I like Open Indiana. So.
I actually haven't tried that. Out of curiosity, that's like based off like Solaris, right?
Yeah, well, it was.
So, I was thinking about buying parts from my I have the Sun Ultra 80. Does it have Ultra Spark support?
I believe so.
And would I be able to run some of the proprietary stuff just because there's no one out there that's ever going to make drivers, so I can run my Pentium 3 expansion card on the thing?
Sounds like a unique challenge. I'm sure you could find a solution there.
Yeah.
Man. I don't know. It'd just be really cool to have a little Pentium 3 system attached to the thing,
Yeah, I had Yeah, I was responding to somebody in the chat. So somebody had sent a super chat asking about a Solus 4.1 review soon. So I've already installed a Solus 4.1 on a couple of my test laptops. And yeah, I probably will do something on video with Solus in the next week. And yeah, I did the Budgie edition. I'm not a KDE fan. Sorry, Alex. I know he was probably wanting plasma. So.
Tom Isam decided it won't work anymore.
Now, what was that, Alistair?
My Zoom decided he didn't want to connect to the internet anymore.
No.
Oh, I did think it. OpenEDI, I think, only supports. I think it can run on. Well, it's x86 64, but I think you'd have to go back and use Solaris 10 or 11 to get Spark support.
I'm
but
just gonna use NetBSD or OpenBSD.
Yeah, that'd probably be best if you're looking for Spark support.
Someone got a Spark station.
Now, speaking of the BSDs, we had a big release a couple of days ago. Ghost BSD had a big release. I haven't downloaded the ISO or taken a look at it, but
I don't know.
Look at that actually.
I think
it's an interesting BSD, that's for sure. I won't say distro because.
Is it a fork or like what's it a fork of?
Ghost BSD is based on TrueOS, which is based on FreeBSD. So you could say it's a distro. It's a FreeBSD distro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I might actually be. I don't know. FreeBSD seems to be like the easiest to do a desktop on out of the BSDs.
Well, if you're talking about like the main branches of BSD, because they're not all the same, they all run. They're really completely different operating systems rather than completely different distributions. But you have FreeBSD, and then you have NetBSD, and you have OpenBSD, and they're not anything really alike. And you're definitely right. If you're going to do FreeBSD on a desktop, if you're going to attempt BSD on the desktop, FreeBSD is the one to do.
Well, yeah, because you have direct access to the ports tree and all that.
Right.
Like OpenBSD actually is feasible for a desktop. Like
depends on what it depends on what you want to do with your desktop.
Depends on which plane you want to be in.
Yeah.
I think Ghost BSD actually has the better chance of succeeding in the desktop realm, since the project, what used to be PC BSD, then turned to kind of the thing with their name, and then became Project Trident, which is now moving to Void Linux. I think Ghost BSD has the best chance of succeeding in doing well in the desktop realm of BSD.
Yeah,
and I think that tells you a lot when one of the BSDs, Trident, decided to start basing off of Void Linux instead of BSD, because the Linux kernel is so much better than the FreeBSD kernel. It just is. It's going to support more hardware. You're going to have less issues. If you want to have mass appeal, then it's hard to be a BSD distribution and get any real traction as far as users for desktop use.
Graphics cards and Wi-Fi, I imagine, are the issues.
Yeah,
typically.
The last time I tried Ghost BSD on a physical machine was about 1.5 years ago. It was not the same distribution. Now they were basing directly off of FreeBSD. Now they're basing directly off of TrueOS, which is based off of Free. So the distribution has changed a lot, but Ghost BSD was a nightmare to try to get to work 1.5 years ago. So.
Yeah, my most success with that has been in a VM. What I do like, if you like to start from scratch, so to speak, I found that doing FreeBSD and then installing the X and everything like that, and then going from there to be the best approach.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I've played around with all of them, but I mainly did it for like legacy hardware.
Yeah. The problem I run into is doing the YouTube channel, is can I live stream? Can I record? Can I edit all my video? And that becomes a challenge on some of the BSDs, or an impossibility on some of them. Yeah. So
strange enough, that's the reason why I didn't put Haiku on my machine.
Oh yeah, there's no way you could run Haiku as a daily driver if you do video, right?
No.
Well, yeah.
Which is a shame because it's a really nice OS, to be honest. I do like it.
It has FFmpeg. Just edit everything in the terminal.
Actually,
it's not that bad.
Haiku has Blender. You could use Blender as your video editor. The problem is you still don't have OBS.
There's no OBS now.
Right.
And the screen capture program has no audio, so you can capture your screen. That's fine.
But still no audio capture.
Your audio.
Yeah.
You can use FFmpeg to capture your screen.
Yeah, you could just write your own script.
Could do that. I could be in a world of pain.
Yeah.
Yeah, Haiku is still missing some protocol or extension support in the web browser to access some of the web technologies that are out there. But I mean, if you're pretty simple in the browsing and stuff like that, you can still get around. And I think if you're talking about just getting basic information off the web and doing emails and stuff like that, Haiku is actually pretty decent.
Oh, if I didn't have to record audio or video, Haiku actually could go on one of my laptops just fine. Wi-Fi works. It has LibreOffice. It has a web browser. I mean, what else do you need? So.
And they respond too. If you go into the IRC or you submit things on the website, they're very responsive.
Yeah, they are. And it has come a long way, Haiku. It's been like a fork of BOS.
Well, it has that retro look that we all appreciate. I think that's the main thing. Yeah.
Oh boy, is it quick.
Well, we like the aesthetics. What's up, Tripco?
Oh, out of curiosity, I was just gonna ask like the group here if well, the thing is the one thing I liked about Library is that it like automatically syncs the newer videos, so you don't have to like log in each time. But is there something like that for like social media platforms?
So you're trying to post on Twitter or Facebook every time you upload something to YouTube? Is that what you're trying to do?
No, I don't. I made a Mastodon.
Okay.
And
same principle, but yeah.
Like when I upload a video to YouTube, I'd like to be able to just have an auto upload, and and don't want to write like an API sort of thing.
Right. Well,
because then if you think about it, if I use another social media thing, then it's just looking through an API again, seeing if it has a library, hopefully for the same language, and then just creates a huge mess.
I don't know if anything exists already for something like that, especially for Mastodon. You're probably going to have to write it yourself. Yeah. But typically what I do, I post on Mastodon every time I upload a video. But it's simple enough to do because when I upload the video to YouTube, I just go ahead and it takes me all of 10 seconds to open up Mastodon and just post the link there. And that's really all I do.
Copy and paste.
Yeah, it's not like it's a lot of work. But if you had multiple, most people have more than a few social media accounts. Like a lot of people are out there trying to promote all their stuff on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and just a dozen different things. Yeah, you would probably want some kind of script that automates all that for you.
Well, for Twitter and Facebook, it's just a couple of button clicks, isn't it?
Yeah, does YouTube already integrate? Yeah, I don't use Facebook and Twitter, but yeah, YouTube may already have some tools to help you out with those. But they need Mastodon. They need Mastodon integration in YouTube, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That will be a hand.
I think I'm just gonna go the horrible zombie script route.
Yeah.
Whatever
you could always pay somebody a few bucks on Fiverr to write it for you.
Absolutely.
I am very broke.
What's tripping me up?
Well, Fiverr. I mean, it's not like you're paying. You're gonna pay somebody just a few bucks. Somebody in some third world country somewhere that's gonna write it for you. You can't.
Oh, are you saying like write the script?
Right.
Oh,
you
okay.
outsource it. You don't have to do it yourself, right?
Man, I don't want to. I like it when I write my own code because I don't have to write any.
Are we gonna have to start a GoFundMe
necessarily,
for this script?
GoFundMe for
Oh my god. GoFundMe.
Why not?
Yeah.
Sounds like a plan.
I was going to say, why not for these kind of projects? Because it makes sense, because somebody's going to find value in it and they're going to want to help.
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
sure.
man.
Yeah, if you actually posted it somewhere, hey, I'm interested in this, you can find somebody to help you with some of this, especially Mastodon. There's so many people using Mastodon now.
There's
Also, sorry.
carry on, Trip, you're fine.
One other curiosity is, do you think it's worth learning PHP or like the Apache CGI, C++ stuff?
Is it worth learning? What are you trying to do?
Like, let's say I wanted to set up an image board, code base.
It would be worth it if you actually want to know what's going on. Do you know any PHP?
No, I mean out of the two options, like PHP or the Apache like CGI sort of library for C++.
Most of the time, what PHP is used and it's like really popular. So most websites are made with PHP. So
if you're going to do any kind of web development in any kind of serious way, you have to learn PHP at some point. That's what everything's written in. I mean, that's
PHP isn't that difficult, to be honest.
It's not. If you know other programming languages, if you know Python, you say C++ a little bit. PHP is not difficult to wrap your brain around. It's really not. I guarantee you could open up a PHP file right now and kind of figure out what's going on. Okay, this is a loop. This is an if statement. This is
setting up partitions for haiku.
Yeah.
I'll type it.
And somebody in the chat is saying, yeah, PHP is like working with HTML. It kind of is. PHP especially is useful with databases. It's basically interacting with your MySQL databases a lot too. Assuming you're using a dynamic website instead of a static website.
I hate MySQL. I know how to use it. I just don't like it.
You got to learn databases too. That's part of the.
No. I mean, I've taken like database courses. I know how to write queries and things like that. It's just, it's not fun. That'd be a better way to describe it.
Most people I know like SQL more than any other programming. And I move in programming and IT field a lot, so
this is what I use Fiverr for.
Yeah. Oh, that's what a lot of people use it for. Actually, if you have some website and you've just uploaded a content management system you don't know anything about, WordPress, Joomla, whatever, and you need somebody to edit some PHP files for you, or edit your MySQL database for you. Yeah, you can pay somebody. Somebody that knows a little something. Yeah.
It sounds so lazy.
But databases can be fun once you start working on them.
It can be fun.
They really can be.
Take a break.
It sounds boring at first. You're just working with all these tables and just this data. But I don't know. I find it.
It's a digital scavenger hunt.
Yeah.
My opinion, data of all types is fun to work with. I like working with data.
Yeah, it's the manipulation of it that's more fun than the actual creation of it.
So in the chat, we have somebody that says you should go learn JavaScript and let PHP die. No.
Exactly as I was thinking. No.
No.
Okay.
Do you know how many holes are in JavaScript? No, you're fine.
I have edited PHP stuff before, but I've never been able to like figure out JavaScript just based off like syntax or care enough about it.
Yeah. I'll be honest, I've never actually tried to learn JavaScript, so I've never even attempted to look into it. It's not something that's ever interested me. I guess I should at some point, you know.
Better version of that. Don't let JavaScript, but let PHP die. Use something completely different, because both of those are bad. Not just JavaScript, even PHP is bad. But there isn't a good alternative to PHP, while there are somewhat okay-ish alternatives to JavaScript, like WebAssembly.
Yeah. And we have somebody also in the chat saying there's really little difference between PHP and Python if you're working with a database. I mean, you could use a web interface with Python to replace PHP with Python if you wanted to. Is there any real point in it? Probably not. I don't know. I don't know. I've never attempted to replace PHP with something else for my web projects.
I use C# instead of PHP.
Yeah.
But I use C# instead of JavaScript as well, so yeah.
Well, I think people got to the point where I think the way that people looked at it was like, I have no real interest in making a change now, and then everybody kind of does it, and that's why we're still stuck with it.
Yeah.
Well, it's because PHP has been the de facto, right? That's what everybody wrote all this stuff in to begin with. It's kind of what PHP was designed for, was web development. So why switch to something else? That's kind of, like I said, it's the de facto language.
I mean, I think other alternatives are welcome. It's just getting people trained on it and then getting it integrated.
Right.
So
and you're not going to get everybody to agree to move to some other language anyway, because you're going to have a dozen different languages that people suggest.
Yeah.
What you're saying is I should use the de facto standard, so I should just rewrite everything in C, write the web server in C, write the database software in C, just do everything.
I wouldn't say C is de facto standard anymore. C is de facto standard for some things, but not everything.
I think it becomes more low level now, right?
Yeah. For drivers and stuff like that, C is and operating system, C is de facto standard. But for client-side applications on a desktop, there are better and more de facto standard alternatives like Java, C#, C++, Python, and
JavaScript.
JavaScript as well.
Really, JavaScript.
Sadly, but yeah. Electron is a thing that
Electron.
Great.
I was kind of just making an ironic comment there about learning PHP. So it was the standard.
Yeah,
PHP
is not that difficult.
Enjoy C and C++.
I don't like C++. I hate it. I learned.
Why?
I learned it in school, and ever since I just can't use it. Whoa.
Yeah, I don't know any C.
It's great.
Like every time I open up my config files for DWM and all the suckless utilities, I'm like, what in the hell is this? But oddly enough, I can open up any of my Xmonad files, and they're all written in Haskell. And yeah, I don't know.
How do you write your own data? Sorry for the interruption.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go on.
How do you write your own data structures in C#?
I don't do that. I mostly write either console applications or desktop applications. So I write that, and that's it. Maybe I write a website in ASP.NET so I can use on Linux and Windows the same interface, and that's it.
Plus
Yeah, in the
C++
chat, Bogdan is
code.
saying Electron apps are bloated as hell.
Not
That
wrong.
is true.
Everyone,
Not
everyone
wrong.
has its own Chromium engine inside. So
Yeah.
allow me to hide my camera so I can puke.
But yeah, Electron apps like Atom, for instance.
Yeah, that's the
certain I use, but I wish they were not actually Electron, or at least
Atom
written
is
in something
interesting.
else JS.
Atom is interesting because you basically rewrite Sublime.
Yeah.
In Atom, I mean an Electron. Why? Why
Yeah,
are you doing that?
Why?
Right.
Exactly. Why?
Because Sublime is paid for software, and GitHub didn't want that, so they created their own framework.
Yeah.
And that's it. Yay!
Yeah, but why in Electron? That's the question.
Because
I mean, they could have wrote it in any other language, or
they created their own framework for desktop apps. They used Chromium engine for showing the desktop because they are GitHub.
Matter of fact, didn't they create Electron itself just for
Yes.
Atom? Right?
Yes.
I mean,
that was
probably.
No, that's really how Electron came to be.
Electron. Yes, that was the point of Electron. Create Atom. And then Microsoft, even before they bought GitHub, created with Electron VS Code, which is, compared to Atom, so much better to use and so much faster. It's funny how GitHub, who created Electron, cannot create a good application in it.
Well, they're all owned by the same company now.
Nowadays, yeah.
So I mean, it's all the same people.
So I'm just waiting when Atom will go bye-bye.
Mm-hmm.
Someone's on Discord somewhere.
How do you write terminal applications in C#? I haven't really used it in anything out of ASP.NET.
You create a console application, you target .NET Core framework, and it works. It's really easy. And you have a main function, you do console.writeLine, console.readLine, then that's for I/O, and then you have a bunch of logic.
But what if I want something like ncurses?
Why are you not writing all this in Python if you just want to do some simple
terminal-based? There probably is a library for that.
Yeah.
That would be, actually, I believe there is a library for that.
That's right. You guys are using the wrong tools for the wrong job.
Basically, you have a
No. C and C++ with ncurses is amazing. I love it.
I bet they have. I believe there is a library for C# to do ncurses. Like everything else, most programmers don't have ncurses in by default, so you have to have a library. And you could probably code it by hand, but who the hell wants to do
that? For the fun of it.
Yeah,
okay, yeah. For the fun of it, yes. Otherwise,
Python code actually lagged on like Pentium 1 processors.
What was that?
I had a server.
You were cutting out there a little bit. What was that?
Oh, I said I've had issues with like Python ncurses applications. It's Ranger ncurses.
It is.
Like they would actually lag on like my old like 1990s hardware. So, but if you write it in C++,
think about what you just said there. 1990. I mean, is the Ranger devs supposed to take into account that you might be running a 25-year-old computer? I mean, at some point they have to write their program for normal computer users too. So.
Yeah. And through it all, Python hasn't been the best at keeping backwards compatibility. Like, for example, every Microsoft thing ever, because Microsoft thrives on that. But you should understand that because of that, Python loses more newer versions of Python will lose compatibility with older hardware, which is, in my opinion, just okay. We shouldn't carry craft that shouldn't be there because it's not used anymore. Besides some nostalgia-seeking people.
Right. I mean, at some point, we got to let some of these machines die.
Yes.
It's kind of like the 32-bit library thing.
Sooner or later, they have to go away.
You can't
We
keep
will have
supporting
to start
everything.
Writing
Right.
and rewriting the
eventually.
software.
Well, I mean, supporting things for a niche market, it's kind of like, okay, here's where we're just going to kind of stop, and then anything before that, because you will still have kind of those retro machines or those, period pieces, so to speak, that I think that will, satisfy that need still. But then as far as the new latest stuff, you're no longer spending all that time and energy on that, and just continuing to build code bloat in some way.
Yeah, but the great thing about Linux is you're always going to have those people targeting these niche markets. You're always going to have distros like Antix that are always going to support 32-bit machines. So.
Well, same thing like eLive. It's mostly been support for the old 86, and still adding some of that compatibility for 64-bit. But I think that there's still someone is going to support it, even if it's not like the main ones like Nitrix and stuff like that are saying, look, we don't want to support 10-year-old hardware because we want to put our energy into creating cool, slick code or whatever.
For me,
it's
one
too much
of the big
work.
problems currently is Steam. Steam refuses to go 64-bit, and believe that's actually only everywhere else except Windows. I believe on Windows they have 64-bit client, but I'm not sure. So that on Linux they don't want to go on 32-bit tells us a lot about how much they actually really care about Linux. When Ubuntu wanted to switch off 32-bit support, they basically went into the escapism. We don't want that. We're gonna just switch away from Ubuntu. Not we're gonna try and fix that problem. You wanna fix what is currently a problem with us because that's a problem, and use and try to make a 64-bit version of a Steam client, a software that is serving computer games and new content, which just shows, in my opinion, a really
the problem is all these desktop distributions that most people run are all like 80% of them are based on either Debian or Ubuntu. Debian and Ubuntu are really server distributions. They don't care about these 32-bit libraries and whether you can play Steam on your desktop. That's not what Canonical makes their money on, right? They're worried about the cloud server market. And that's why they're not putting any real effort into supporting this stuff. And if you're basing your distro off of it, you have to understand that you're going to have to do the heavy lifting. Canonical's not going to do it for you if you want to support 32-bit still. So.
The thing is, I mean, I've got Steam on my 64-bit piece of Linux OS. We haven't done 32-bit since 2016. Steam runs fine. It's some of the games are 32-bit, which is the issue.
Mm-hmm.
So you still need the AI32 libs installed for the games, but Steam runs fine on 64-bit.
Yeah, it runs okay, but when we remove 32-bit libraries, a lot of 32-bit libraries from the repositories, Steam will stop working because
no, that's what I'm saying, Big Pud. I installed it on a pure 64-bit, which really didn't have any 32-bit.
I couldn't get it running myself. On Ubuntu, I have disabled 32-bit support for repositories, and I couldn't get Steam running ever.
Oh, someone's got an echo. Trip?
Oh, yeah, what?
Yeah, don't put the microphone close to your speaker.
Your microphone's picking up.
Oh, I'm sorry. Here, I'll turn the... Here, I'll turn the speakers off. Is this better?
Yes. Oh, much better. Thank you.
Yep.
Sorry about that.
We had some excellent feedback there.
Um,
All right. Yeah. Now, some of the other interesting things I did in the last month. I did an interesting video that some people took offense to, categorizing Linux distros. And these are terms I've been using.
I agree with you.
And I've been using these terms for years, and people were like, hey, I need clarification. When you talk about garage distro, what does that mean? Meme distro, what does that mean? Protest distro. So I defined them, and I gave examples of all of them. And people were like, my distro is not a protest distro. What are you talking about? Arch is a meme distro. I didn't switch to it just because of the meme. I was like, I didn't say everybody. I didn't say everybody that uses these distros uses it for this one reason. But you have to admit, if you're running Dev1, you're doing it mainly out of protest because of Debian and Systemd. You didn't switch to Dev1 because it's such a great distribution. I don't know. People got very upset about that video. Some people. They take it personally, like I'm actually speaking to you, the viewer, like personally, like, dude, I'm just making general statements.
But it is an interesting analysis. It is an interesting analysis to kind of look back at that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, it is. I mean, that's one thing I can't blame my distro for. It's been a process distro. It's been Systemd forever. It's not gone. It's not forked off another distro because they've gone Systemd. We just never bothered going there in the first place.
Right.
I don't know. I really like Debian. I run it on everything.
Yeah. It's hard to beat it.
Yeah, and I kind of was attracted to Solus outside of the the Budgie environment, but also because there really wasn't an overarching agenda behind the start of it. It was just kind of like, hey, let's do something a little different,
Yeah, exactly. Oh, excuse me.
Yeah. I don't particularly like distros that can't explain why they exist either. Like if I go to a distro's website and on the front page they can't tell me exactly what the point of their distribution is, I'm probably not going to give it much thought. And that's the problem with some of the distros that I described in that video I did, especially the protest distros that I mentioned. Is why do you exist? We exist because we're not that other distro, right?
Hating on Systemd, hating on a specific distribution, and not some real reason.
Right.
But I think it's an interesting experiment for that exploration. Hey, what it would be like if it were like this. And I think that the fact that we have choices is fantastic.
Yeah.
That's all it is about, choice at the end of the day. It's good to have the choice.
Well, we've got a lot of choice. That's one thing we've got.
That's true.
I did see your video on the Debian options though for different init systems.
Yeah. They
kind of hope.
Yeah, you're hoping they give you some.
Go for that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, not like necessarily like all the init systems support it, but like at least have that stuff in the repository where it might work.
It is after that it's quite hard
I
to
don't know.
set up certain things. Don't really just install and go.
Yeah.
As far as I'm aware. Even the on Gentoo it is quite easy to do just because it is the whole underlying overlays. You choose what you want as an overlay, so it sets up everything for you. But something like Debian, that's gonna be hard in my opinion. I do Systemd on Gentoo, so that's why I know.
Yeah, you might be the only Gentoo user that runs Systemd, though most everybody else is doing.
Yeah, but I'll see it now on Gentoo.
I run Systemd because I'm used to it, and because why the hell not? It works.
Yeah.
The end.
Works sometimes. The end.
For me, works all the time.
Works.
I wouldn't mind Debian having OpenRC or run it available for you to do whatever it is you want to do with it, but they probably will never support it it's one of those things. If you want to try this, go ahead, but it's your responsibility. If you break your system, don't come to us to try.
And first few times you will break your system.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Just that's an old school feeling.
Yeah.
I like old school. Nothing wrong with old school.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, you know, a long time ago, playing around with, you know, DOS and Windows 3.1, you know, you accidentally erase a file or something, you had to start over again.
Yeah, absolutely.
that still
no.
happens.
Normally, Windows 3.1 would just crash and erase it for you.
Right.
Hey, I have that problem on Linux. When you talking about DOS?
Well, yes, but it was much easier to fix, and it didn't take as much time to reinstall in some instances, depending on what you were using.
I'm not quite sure I'd like. You know, I've broken a lot of Linux systems, but a lot of it was. Have you guys ever actually recovered anything from Superblocks before?
I haven't.
From what?
Not personally, no.
Nope.
Like an ext3 and ext4 has like they have
separate superblocks, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So you can actually restore and get the majority of your data back from those. So I accidentally got rid of a partition table while testing some script out, and I was able to get my stuff back.
I just standard recovery practicing all comes back basically, but most of the time I
didn't
lose
get
data
everything.
And most of the time I lose data on NTFS partitions. That's why that's not because NTFS is bad. That's because I'm an idiot, and I play with my server, and I accidentally delete the wrong folder, and I delete the folder that's actually delete, or I delete inside the wrong folder, delete everything, and I couple of times I deleted my my secondary drive, and couple of times I formatted my secondary drive. So thanks God to every software possible, I got everything back every time.
Big Pod, why did you feel the need to qualify that NTFS is not bad? Did you think we would just assume it?
I didn't say it's not because not because it's bad, because in some areas it's bad as hell, but it's not because it was bad, because it was user error. You know, the problem is between keyboard and chair.
FAT12 is
NTFS, people say it's not this file system, but there are worse file systems out there.
Yeah,
name one.
Name one.
Yeah, name one.
32, exFAT.
Well, those are the other Microsoft file systems. Name a real file system.
ADFS. There you go.
Do you guys ever ran PhotoRec on one of your own hard drives?
No, but I do know it. I have seen it work, but not on one of my drives. I've recovered quite a lot actually. I use time shift anyway. Everything gets backed up, and 10 minutes later I'm back to where it was.
I almost never use backups, like system-wide backups. I back up myself a couple of directories, but that's it.
What's a backup?
Yeah. I back up a couple of directories to a hard drive, USB one, and that's it. I don't
going into philosophy now. What is backup? What would you say was a backup?
A copy of your data for security reasons.
Yep, and you should always have it offline. And not even in the same house, man. And I don't mean on somebody else's computer. I mean, like on a separate hard drive stored in your mother's attic. That's where it should be.
Magic rule is like for normal people is have 3 backups, 2 of them local, one of them remote. That's the magic rule.
Yeah.
Everybody should follow. And
how many people do?
One more rule everybody should follow, even in the IT sector. RAID is not backup.
RAID isn't backup. No.
One thing I will say,
RAID, I'm fine. No, you're not.
Going back to the topic earlier about library, one of the reasons I sync to library is for having another backup. So I actually have 2 backups of all my videos. I've got them stored myself. If YouTube ever goes tits up, I've got them. I also have them synced to library now, so it's just
There you
multiple
go.
copies of the
Backups.
same. Right. So
Do you?
I don't really worry that much about my videos, to be honest. I wiped a few off my own
Well, if you-
local machine earlier on.
I will
I've
say
been on
this.
YouTube. That'll be fine for a little while.
Alistair, you need to have some other place for them because there are plenty of YouTubers out there. You just do a quick search on YouTube where people have had their channels deleted. Sometimes deleted by YouTube for no reason at all.
Yeah.
Somebody made some claim against them. It wasn't even a legit claim. And YouTube took their channel down, and you lose everything if you don't have your videos backed up. You're never getting them back. So
Do you
That's a good point.
with your videos, do you keep the original source stuff, or once you make a video and you publish it, you just keep the final video and then you delete the original source material, or do you, depending on what it is?
The finished edited video, what I do is I upload it to an S3 bucket.
But the original, like the original stuff, all that extra data and the original files.
The uncut stuff. No, I delete that. It's just the finished
You're
video.
a smart one.
Yeah, because if I saved all of that, I mean, you're talking about just terabytes and terabytes of extra video.
Because everybody has different procedures and stuff like that, and how they handle that. So I've been thinking about that more lately, and so I was curious.
That's the reason why Linus Tech Tips requires a petabyte server that is already full, because he stores everything.
And he's doing it up in 4K, isn't he? So that's
8K. But he wouldn't need that if he wasn't crazy about storage. He wants to store every source file possible.
I kind of get that, but also it's kind of, I think of how much space that takes up. It's like, oh my gosh.
Well, I can tell you how much just the finished
drive servers with 10 or 12 terabyte drives in there, and they're both full. They're already planning on expanding it with more servers.
I think it's an interesting case study, though.
I can tell you what my videos take, and I'm not doing 4K, or definitely not 8K. I'm only doing 1080p, 60 frames a second. The 600 videos or so that I've done on YouTube that I've now got stored in this S3 bucket, more than 2 terabytes of data. So that gives you some idea.
You should start thinking about 4K.
Well, if I did 4K, you're talking about what? 8 terabytes, 10 terabytes of data for the same amount of video. It's just huge storage costs, and it's only going to get more and more. I'm not going to quit making videos, so it's just the storage costs for
sooner
all
or
this.
later you're gonna have to go higher because people will start demanding it when a 4K screen start getting
I refuse.
higher and higher, lower and lower price. People will start demanding it more and more.
Probably Tech Tips will probably get to the point where they're going to be the first YouTuber to have an exabyte server array.
Could be.
You're probably right there, actually.
Out of curiosity, do you guys actually can you guys actually see the difference on a laptop to 4K? I've never been able to tell.
It depends on your screen resolution.
Yeah, I don't have good enough monitors.
Depends on the size of the monitor, but on a TV, definitely. On a laptop, 1080p is enough for me, but I'm not that guy that would care for that stuff. But many people want more beautiful, and yes, supposedly there is a difference even in 4K, but even on laptop. But
on a 13-inch screen, 720p is fine.
13-inch.
I mean,
yeah, but on. Well, I'm running Full HD, and it's pointless watching a 4K on a 1080p display because you're not going to be able to see the extra pixels anyway.
Yeah.
Well, it may look a tiny bit sharper if you're looking at the 4K stream.
I think some people are
compression is.
I think some people confuse, like 4K with like the benefits of having something that's like HDR. I think having more screen real estate to do stuff and have windows up is, very much different than having higher quality, video, watching a movie or something. But I think it's the color depth, and I think that's where most people would benefit at this point.
One reason why people do 4K at least videos and 8K and up is the editing, how editing experience, because the editing experience in 4K to 1080p is hell of a better than 1080p to 1080p, and 8K to 4K is. Editing experience is great because you have so much more headroom to not screw up, but to do like zooms and stuff like that in post, which isn't possible with 1080p to 1080p video.
Well, I think this is a great case to bring back film.
Yeah,
not for digital stuff like.
Yeah, not for digital, but having
no,
that as
but
a
if you are
source material.
converting, yeah, because if you're converting from film, you can go all the way up to 16K on certain.
You could even go farther back in time than like editing with time codes on a terminal. I could just like cut my film with scissors and tape it back together.
No, what case was that? I think it was Star Trek Next Generation. That was actually all filmed on film.
To start recording in 4K too.
And so they could release it in any
aren't
resolution
even
they
made
need.
in 4K. We should remember that most movies aren't made in 4K or higher. They are made in 2K, which is, I believe, the cinematic equivalent of 1080p or 1440p. I don't know which one, but they're made in that, not in 4K. I believe one of the movies now that's coming out that's actually made in higher than 4K or higher is the Top Gun Maverick, but I'm not exactly sure if that's actually true. I know most movies are made in 2K, and maybe special scenes are made in 4K.
Hey, Big Pod, though, what would be the point of me recording in 4K? Because think about most of my content. So a lot of times I'm just showing a terminal. Does that need to be in 4K? What about this Zoom chat? If you guys aren't using 4K cameras, what does it matter if I'm recording
Let me
this?
tell you why does it matter. Let me tell you. You know why does it matter? Because people will see in the lower right-hand corner 4K. That's the why it will matter.
Yes, and but they will. You know what they wouldn't see, Big Pod? They wouldn't. What they wouldn't see is the $1,500 camera I had to buy. They wouldn't have to. They wouldn't see the very expensive 4K monitors I have to buy to record my desktop in 4K now. They're wouldn't
not
see
that expensive.
They wouldn't see the very large drives I need to have to store all this video I'm recording.
Not that much more expensive drives, not that much more expensive monitors, maybe twice the price, which is not that much more.
It's not unusual for me to
200.
It's not unusual for me to have more than a gig of video for some of just the smaller videos I do, just the few takes I do. Imagine now you're having 4 or 5 times that amount of stuff for some of the clips that you record.
4 gigs. Wow, that's a lot.
Well, I mean, I'm talking about for small videos. Now, I'm at, like the 2-hour videos that Alistair does, you're talking a couple hundred gigs probably in 4K if he wanted to.
Depending on what kind of compression during recording you use.
Well, yeah.
If you do raw or
if you're doing raw,
you're gonna
fill up a
lot of 1080p, you can get big files. So yeah.
God, don't start compressing the video though.
You have to.
Oh, you do.
You're gonna do 4K. It's gonna fill up your drive.
264.
Well, yeah, but like the editing time for rendering goes up so much.
Just use cinematic frame rates.
Yeah, if you don't.
Well, I do 1080p 30 FPS, and I can just run copy codec, and if I make every frame, which just means there's no like if you're imagining the video as like a 3D object, everything's just compressed in a slice, not together. It's generally about 1/3 to 2/3 bigger than when I use the normal editor.
Mm-hmm.
You see what DT should use actually? It's just 80 column. You'll be fine.
I should do what?
Oh,
just use 80 column for your videos.
80 column?
Most of it's console anyway.
I see what he's saying, right?
I guess I could do that.
It's a broadcasting 80 column. Absolutely fine.
How about put it through
25 lines? Absolutely fine.
How about a 4K ANSI filter?
Oh God.
I don't know.
Oh, I was gonna say.
Like 4K is cool, but the costs involved to start recording in 4K. That's just.
DistroTube.
I mean,
in a few years, the prices will drop anyway. So just
right, exactly.
Just drop then upgrade. A lot of people are happy with the image quality of 1080 anyway. Even on 4K, 1080 isn't that bad. It can upscale quite well. The upscalers now are really excellent.
Yeah, upscale for what's it called? What I want to say for 1080p to 4K is great because it's just 4 pixels. It's not like it has to do a half a pixel.
Well, you know
That's
what?
right, because it's
downscaling
it's exactly
is great as
4.
well.
Now that Linus Tech Tips is retiring, if he sells all of his equipment cheap on eBay, maybe I can get some of those 8K cameras.
First of all,
He's not going anywhere.
He is not retiring. That he's thinking of. Second of all, he wouldn't
He
be
talked
selling
about
his equipment because he would want the company to run anyway. That's what he's trying to do.
Yeah, Linus Video Group isn't going anywhere.
So he becomes redundant. He wants.
Are you
to
saying
become
that video
redundant.
was clickbait? Is that what you're trying to say?
No, it was.
Well,
not.
actually, he said he wasn't clickbait, but he said he had a heartwarming experience. Like he's missing out
he
things
wanted
with
to
his
explain his
kids and
mind.
so on.
I mean, he can still be a presenter, but he still has all those writers and other stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, that's what it is. He was so involved in everything. He was missing out on other stuff. He said he still wants to make the video, but the videos that he's making, the stuff that he's doing, he's starting to get boring for him. He gets the same old hardware, same old this. He just needs something to excite him. That's what it is.
Well, they make so many videos, you're gonna kind of get stale on some ideas until
exactly.
something
What
else
I
new
get
comes
from
up.
him, he wants to just be a CEO, not anymore a presenter. He wants to.
Yeah.
So he becomes redundant in video space. He wants other people to do videos, not him.
He needs the big boy that knows about Linux. I forget the guy's name. He needs that guy to do a lot more.
Actually,
Adam or Alex, something like that. He's great. I like it.
He is. He knows his stuff.
And really, that guy is the only guy who has A+.
Yeah, what's that?
Anthony. Anthony's name.
Yeah.
Derek.
Anthony.
There we go. Anthony. I just think of his name.
I
really
like
Anthony.
I need to say.
Script, like everyone else.
Oh damn! I give up.
Go Trip Code.
What you need, Trip?
I really want you to do 4K or 8K video, just because the raid setups you'd have to do would be very interesting.
You know,
I
would love to watch that content.
I have enough drive bays. Yeah, I could get the storage down. If really the big cost would be the camera, like to 8K. Can you imagine? That's
8K rig cameras are serious money.
Like you're talking $5 figures. Yeah, at least. Yeah.
$10,000 just for the camera.
If he would go with Go Trip, go. Say what you want to say.
I'm sorry. I feel like I'm interrupting people a lot.
There's no way not to interrupt people in this, especially with the lag. There's a little bit of lag between some of us too. That causes some of the issues.
Okay. I was gonna say like you should just get 4 or actually 16 of those like $30 Logitech 1080p webcams. And then arrange them in a grid formation, and then in the video editor, splice them together.
Hey, the technology is there. Probably to do that.
Yeah, I mean that could be done, but as far as the expense, that's not really saving you any money. It's not really saving you any time either. The headache of splicing all that together.
I don't.
There's some really good
4K cameras are $10,000 really. A couple of thousand to believe. The professional. Blackmagic Ursa is like around $5,000, something like that.
Yeah, if I had $2,000, I could do the 4K, but yeah. Again,
also, DT, if you would do that, I would be willing to do a collab with you and do a professional setup, professional server and everything like that. Because you would need a
credit card is what I'd need.
Really on a main machine.
You need staff, is what he's saying. You need staff dedicated. and he wants to be hired.
Oh,
What I would need is a credit card with a high limit.
A
If
corporate
you do
credit card.
8K video, I'll quit smoking.
You're going to be smoking for quite some
A
time.
long
man.
time.
DT,
Oh,
I was
God.
going to say, if you get any higher resolution, you're going to have to start shaving your head more before.
Right. Well, I shaved actually last night. This is just a few hours.
well, so before every record, you're gonna have to shave then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if
Think
you
of
start
the
doing
humans
4K and
people could
8K,
do.
yeah, then you got to start wearing makeup. You got to worry about the reflection of your skin. Yeah, really.
Not that
It's a
bad.
nightmare.
It's not that bad, but yeah.
Right.
And if you're doing a 4K video, you don't really need a 4K camera first off, because you're just in a corner. You're still gonna have less pixels than 1080p.
Mm-hmm. Well, that might be something we do at some point. Not this week though, Big Bud.
Yeah. Okay.
Might have to save up a few
Hey,
bucks
one
before,
day.
right?
One day.
You know, you're talking about
Foundation isn't hard to apply.
In reality, for 4K production, you only need maybe one 4K monitor, if even, because OBS can record 4K even if you don't have a 4K screen.
Yeah, but that's
So-
not. I mean, just scaling 1080 to 4K. That's not.
Well-
You can do it, but that's almost pointless.
You basically need one 4K screen and that's it.
Yeah.
And you can do 4K.
I have a 4K monitor I picked up for I think like $286 or something like that a year and a half ago. So
4K TVs are $400, $500, so monitors are a lot cheaper than that.
Yeah, and then I mean, it would be kind of cool to have some 4K monitors around just to see how these tiling window managers handle 4K.
I guess we found out your next
I've
expansion.
actually tried.
Don't need magnifying glass for the text.
Exactly.
There's no
Right.
scaling.
oh,
No, I mean, like, I'm typically used to resolutions like 1440 by 900
Mhm.
or something like that.
Yeah, I got a
And,
laptop.
but
that
for a
does that.
while, I had my desktop plugged into a 4K for a while, and that was really nice with i3 gaps. You know, there's actually a reason for the gaps to be there.
Gaps serve no
It's kinda
purpose.
Kind of nice. Huh?
How big is
Gaps in a
that?
window manager serve no purpose. We've had
I
this
know,
discussion
but-
before.
It looked so pretty though. It was like, and it was 4K, so it's not like I was gonna like in a 43-inch screen. I wasn't gonna lose that much real estate.
So you had to put like a 200 pixel gap in it on a monitor that big for it to even look like a gap.
80, but
80?
yeah.
People like just a little bit separation, so just a little bit. So even maybe like on 1080p screen, a couple of pixels is enough for people to actually see it, because separation is what they want.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I understand that useless things like you see on Unix porn, that's useless, but a couple of pixels of space.
It's not
that's actually
useless.
really
It's Unix porn serves a very real purpose. It is showing
called
people the
flexing.
possibilities that you
good. It's
can have
called
with Linux.
Flexing. That's what that is. It's
How many
called
people have
flexing.
switched from Windows to Linux because they visited Unix porn?
Probably no
Thousands.
one. Probably no one.
No, I'm sure there's been a few.
well, I
Well,
did.
all this talk of 4K, and I just remembering back to 2000, year 2000, I had an EMEA CRT monitor that would embarrass a 4K monitor in resolution,
I believe it.
5,000 pixels across on a 21-inch.
I have a monitor that would
All these
embarrass
4Ks,
4K in
oh.
color depth. But
Yeah, and color depth, yeah.
There's probably going to be a return by some people in the niche market to return back to some CRT.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm
CRT
just-
monitors were nice as far as the picture quality, but
Yeah.
the weight. Like
Oh, the weight.
If you
My monitor was a 2-man lift.
Oh,
no,
absolutely.
no.
Absolutely.
You guys are doing it wrong.
Oh yeah, right.
You don't buy the big bulky CRT. You buy the color medical 2048 by 1536 IPS monitor from 2006, which is still pretty heavy.
Not wrong.
You buy
Yeah.
that TV that's like
Still need to
less
crunch
than
cliff it.
Yeah, those old CRT monitors, you could seriously hurt yourself if you tried to pick it up by yourself. I mean,
Actually,
those.
if you threw a stone in it, you actually could have seriously hurt yourself.
Yeah. And somebody
So,
also mentioned eye strain was worse on the CRT monitors.
definitely
That is
worse.
absolutely true. Yeah.
Yeah, stream was more, but that's only if you had low refresh rates. If you was using sort of like 60 refresh rates, that was headache inducing.
It was.
I can't be 1 hour on a CRT, so that's.
The thing I've got with the CRT actually is the HT boy.
Yeah,
the high pitched whistle. I could still hear HT whistle, even at my age. It's weird.
All
right.
I don't know. I think listening to a lot of
my eyes started hurting.
Oh yeah, for somebody that obviously is a little older, so I spent a lot of time viewing CRT monitors. I can tell you, my eyesight is better now than it was when I was a teenager.
Yeah.
Just from the fact we don't use CRT monitors anymore.
Yeah.
Just being in front of those monitors, just
CRT monitors use lasers to shoot light into phosphorus coating on monitor screens, so it light up. So probably some of that lasers.
Yeah, it's scanned the way it's scanned.
Your eyes.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of like CRTs just because I understand how they work.
Yeah. Top left to bottom right as fast as it can.
Well, there's some comfort in that, that's for sure.
No, I mean like technology-wise, I really don't understand the chemistry of LCD panels.
I couldn't help you with
a
that.
Film of crystals and lights behind it, nothing more. And in a cluster there are 3 lights: red, green, blue, and then they shine the crystal however much they want to get the specific color, and that's it. And then you have on the screen you also have a filter, a polarizing filter that actually makes you see things, and that's it. Basically, that's it. And
like, how would I make one?
Probably really hard because those lights are really, really, really small.
And that's why there's only a few manufacturers that actually do it.
Because the matrices for that are quite hard to make. Because think about how big the pixel is just on 1080p screen. They have to be in that one pixel. There have to be 3 lights that are red, green, and blue and have to shine at the same time.
Explain the chemistry, though.
Chemistry?
Just like crystals.
There's a certain crystal.
Yeah, the chemistry behind it.
It's I know.
You have like a little.
Let me just. I forgot we learned all that in school, but I forgot it all because I didn't listen really hard. But okay.
I don't I mean, I understand the RGB thing, but the electron gun in a vacuum with a little phosphor display on the side, that makes sense to me. It's
with the shadow mask. Yep.
Whatever.
Yeah,
whatever.
I can't help it. I can't help anybody with chemistry. Everything I know about chemistry, I learned from watching Breaking Bad.
Okay, let me just. Liquid crystal displays or LCDs use what is it? I don't see some crystals.
But liquid crystals are C41H7202.
Yeah.
There, you have the.
I've taken them apart before. Wait.
No, I've got.
Also, all my attempts to repair like LCD monitors, like the old ones with the Mercury backlights, have not, or like the CFL backlights, they always don't end well. Like I always end up just messing up a panel. I don't like it. You know, this does look kind of cool. I think this is the polarizing film. Not quite sure.
Oh, yeah.
If I paste this into YouTube chat, chemistryislife.com, you'll see the chemistry makeup of LCD from YouTube chat.
Yeah, I think we're getting beyond anything that any of us can really speak on here.
I understand it. I just couldn't make it.
Yeah. Well, you know, most LCD and LED monitors and TVs, you know, there's just really like 2 or 3 manufacturers in the world that actually
a gimmick. This LED business. All they've done is replace the CFL or normal tube lighting behind the TV for LED.
Got some feedback. Let's mute Trip Code.
There we go.
All right. Go ahead,
that's
Alan.
all I've done. This LED TV, all they have done, they're not actually LEDs unless you're talking OLED. But for these main manufacturers, the cheap ones, they say LED TV. It's not. It's LED backlit. So they're using an array of LEDs around the screen to backlight your LCD. It's not an LED TV. It's an LCD TV that just happens to be using white light as a backlight rather than CFL.
Yeah, it uses LED LEDs. It uses LEDs and not different types of lighting systems.
Unless you're using OLED.
Yeah, OLED is a
which is a form of LED.
It's all a scam.
Organic and turns off directly.
Yeah.
No, they can something burning.
Hey, Trip, you got your speakers up. Too loud.
Did the echo go away?
Nope.
Yeah.
My rule of thumb: don't use.
What about now?
Speakers when you're doing.
Yeah, that's better. Part of the problem. Hey, Trip Code. Part of the problem is that Blue Yeti microphone. You actually speak into the front of it, where the blue logo is.
The light.
Yeah, and you have that pointed toward your speakers instead of you. So.
I keep screwing that up. I always forget the.
Yeah, you speak into
I've
that
done
logo.
That before. I'm sorry.
Not the top of the mic either. Right into the logo. Yeah, right.
The side of it, not the.
Like if it's pointing straight up, look at the blue logo. That's where you. Yeah, straight ahead. That's it. That's actually where the capsule is.
And then every time.
Yeah, I mean,
I think we scared him away a bit.
Of course, some of that will depend on how you have it set. Most people would have it set to the cardioid pattern on the back. That's the best pattern. It's the one that's going to give you the least amount of background noise.
More directional.
Yeah.
Did my echo go away?
Yeah, that's better.
Better, but I can still hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you have the gain set to on that?
11.
Let me check.
I can tell you it's high.
Like midway in the dial.
Yeah, I would turn the gain down on it as well.
Low gain on the mic, higher gain on the
down.
That's up.
Yeah, don't turn the gain up on that Blue Yeti too high because it will pick up. It will pick up everything.
Up, anti-clockwise down.
Yes. So you had it halfway. That was a little high. So I would back it off a little bit.
Is this better?
Much better.
Oh, that's much.
Yeah.
And there is no background noise now. So.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. I
really
had
quite
like
nice,
a microphone stand here, but the cable broke, and now I have a really short cable.
Yeah, because if you turn the gain up on that microphone, you are going to pick up your neighbor's house, you know, what they're doing inside it. Like that mic is sensitive. So turn the gain, down on that. If you turn it up, you're going to get some really nasty background noise. You're going to get that static, that hiss. So, and if you're live streaming, it's going to bleed through whatever is coming through the speakers. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I used to have a Blue Yeti. It's a nice microphone.
Apologize.
Yeah. I say I used to have a Blue Yeti. I've got one. I just don't use it. I didn't particularly care for mine.
Kind of bought it as a.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I said like I was gonna do I did some live stream with Luke Smith a long time ago, and I bought it and planned to return it the next week, and then I just never returned it, so I didn't do any research on it.
Yep.
Or how they work, really.
Well, the main thing is the gain. It's pretty self-explanatory what the gain is, and then the knob on the back. It's got 4 different polar patterns. For what most people want, you need to be on the cardioid setting, which I think is the first setting. I don't know. I don't have mine handy here. But you want it where the sound is picked up from the front of the microphone. If you have it like omnidirectional, it's going to pick up sound coming from every direction in the room. That's not what you want. You only want it coming from you. All right. Well, we're getting close to the 2-hour mark. Let's let everybody take a minute or two and give us a last word on our way out. George, say something enlightening.
Well, thank you for hosting us and on all that and what you do. It's been informative and entertaining, and hope everyone has some good projects coming up, and hope you have success with them.
Yep.
Thank you.
You got anything planned?
Yeah, I've got to start working on a centralized server to share, images and document files with others in the house. So that's an upcoming project. Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah. Well, maybe you'll come back and let us know how that went.
Sure. Absolutely.
All right. Big Pod, send us out, sir.
Thank you for having us. And now that we will finish this, I will go back to playing with my server, aka fixing it, because something decided to freeze every time it starts. For after an hour, it just freezes.
Yeah, but you're using System D.
Yes, it's a
I was just throwing that out there.
It's not System D's fault. It's
OpenRC wouldn't do that.
I probably will install something else on it, not install Proxmox. Probably gonna go something like XCPNG again, something virtualization related, or I might just go and do Ubuntu and do it myself.
Yeah, Ubuntu server is always the easy way out. You could always do one of the BSDs.
No thanks. Thanks.
Shut that down quick, huh?
I'd rather do Windows Hyper-V than BSD.
All right, Big Pod. Good to see you. Trip Code, give us the last word.
Sorry about the microphone.
Nothing to be sorry about.
It was fun talking.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm probably just gonna clean up the video editor code or make a video on the video editor, which is kind of weird because you're editing a video while making a video.
Well, I'll definitely watch your video on your Ncurse's video editor. I can't wait to see that in action. All right. Well, thanks for hanging out with us. All right. Alistair.
No,
yeah, it's the first live stream I've done with you for quite a while, Derek, and it's been enjoyable as ever.
Yeah.
For those people who want to download any of my ISOs, the link is in the chat somewhere. Enjoy those. And you can always tell me off what I've done wrong next time. Thank you for the stream, Derek. Much appreciated. And I'll see you all soon.
All right. Yeah. Yeah, this was fun. My last word here is obviously I want to thank George and Big Pod and Trip and Alistair for hanging out. Also, we had Nate here earlier. It looks like he ducked out. Ben Fitzpatrick was here for a minute as well. Thank all those guys for hanging out with me today. Also, want to thank all the patrons that couldn't be here with us on camera. You guys are seeing all their names on the screen right now. Sincerely thank each and every one of these guys. And that is all we have for the day. All right, guys. Peace. Everybody wave bye. Say bye, Trip Code.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.
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 All right.